You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
Happy Saturday, Nation citizens, and welcome into a Sherwood Ford GIANT Gameday edition of Oilers Nation every day. Edmonton, Montreal tonight at 5 o'clock. The Oilers kicking off a big 4-game homestand with a lot of winnable games. They got to be licking their chops at a chance to go on a bit of a run. Let's get into things with the lead. The lead is brought to you by our friends over at Soho of Edmonton, down on Jasper Ave. Pizza, jams, pints, and Phillies. They have their game day specials all ready to go. Specials on Canadian. Just over $8 will get you a pint and a slice, and the game's up on a 100-inch big screen as well. Check them out, sohoyeg.com. Your comments, as always, welcome over on the Nation Network YouTube chat. I got that fired up right now. I see Lyle, Dukes, Rusty's here as well. Rusty saying Hyman and Puljujarvi are due for goals. I would agree with that. Flute's in as well. So let's go. Give me your Sherwood Ford Giant keys to victory. We'll get to a few of those throughout the show today, but the lead is just that. This is a very winnable stretch for the Edmonton Oilers. Very winnable. Tonight, you're taking on a Montreal team that, yes, they're coming off a win to start their Alberta trip over the Calgary Flames. They're not that good. This Habs team, even though they're not, like, their record this year isn't even that good, but they've kind of been punching above their weight class for a good chunk of this season. They're 12-10-1. They're 2 games over 500 or 1 game over 500, depending how you want to look at that. They got 25 points on the year. The Oilers only have 26, and Montreal's played, 1 less game. So it's a team that results-wise is doing just as good as the Edmonton Oilers, surprisingly. But when you look at this roster, I don't. They're not a team that's going to play at a whatever they're at, 43 points percentage. This is not going to be the whole year for the Montreal Canadiens. Things will fall apart at some point for the Habs, and this is a very, very winnable matchup. It's a winnable matchup tonight. It's a winnable matchup Monday against Washington. It's a winnable matchup Wednesday against the Arizona Coyotes. It's a winnable matchup next Friday on home ice against the Minnesota Wild. A lot of winnable games coming up for the Oilers. Let me know what your expectation is for this 4-game stretch. I mean, saying you expect them to go 4-0 is probably it's a little aggressive. But I think 3-1 is very realistic. Let's get into this with our guy, Liam. Liam, joining me live from Casa Horriban. I'm at the Sports Closet Studio, 3 locations in the Edmonton area. The closest one for you would be the Sherwood Park Mall. For me, St. Albert Mall. Also, Kingsway Mall. Liam, stretch of 4 games coming up. That is the lead. They are all very winnable. What is the minimum acceptable record here for the Oilers?
If they can go 3-1 again, I think that's very, very fair. You know, like you're on home ice. Eventually, you got to start making this place a bit of a fortress and get some home ice advantage. Tonight's a pretty good way to kick it off against Montreal. Montreal has probably been a sneaky good team this year. I think it's fair to say they deserve much more respect than all of us gave them to start the year.
Yep.
And like I think the Oilers, you know, obviously Thursday was disappointing with the game and the result and the way Campbell was, and the team was in front of him a little bit too. But I think at the end of the day, this team's gone 3-1 in the last 4. They've been on the road now for feels like the entire season, besides that 5-game stretch to start the year. Like, time to go home, settle down a little bit. Connor can go see his dog, and I think that's a positive start for the Oilers. So I think 3-1, to answer your question, is a fair assessment of what this team can do.
Yep, and I think that's that absolutely should be the expectation. You should be going 3-1 here. Montreal, Washington, Arizona specifically, you should be beating all 3 of those teams. Washington still very banged up. Arizona, not that good. Montreal, again, like I said, I feel like they've kind of been punching above their weight class. And if you drop one of those games, you got to make up for it and get a big win against the Minnesota Wild. So 3-1 should absolutely be the expectation of this team. And here's maybe a little reason why a red hot December isn't the most unrealistic thing to expect from the Edmonton Oilers. They have some players who are not struggling to score, aren't scoring as much as they usually do at 5-on-5. And that will change at some point. I want to give a shout out to Low Tide, aka Alan Mitchell, who covered this over at The Athletic and pointed out these numbers. It's a great article. If you have The Athletic, go read it. You should be reading everything Low Tide does. 5v5 points per 60. Connor McDavid is 105th in the NHL. Leon Draisaitl is 121st in the NHL. Those numbers are very low, Liam. They are traditionally way higher than 105th and 121st. I get it. They've been doing a lot of their damage on the power play, and it's hard to sit there and like really look at two players who have produced, 43 points and 38 points respectively through 24 games. Like Connor McDavid's at he's producing at an unbelievable clip right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to look at those guys and be like, oh, what, Yaremchuk? You're expecting more? And I'm maybe not expecting more in terms of production, but more in terms of 5v5 production, right? And the power play has been cold recently as well. So there's that.
Yeah, and it's kind of a testament of this team of what they're about right now, right? If McDavid and Draisaitl aren't scoring at 5-on-5 as well, like it's hard to imagine why anybody else would be able to as well. Like maybe this is a thing for the coaching staff to almost look at too. Like, okay, well, this is whatever we're trying to do right now just isn't working. We've changed the lines multiple times. Like maybe it's a systems thing too. Maybe they've got to approach the game a little bit differently with this team. And strange to say for a team that was this, I believe they're the sixth highest team in the league last year in scoring, and now all of a sudden you kind of 5-on-5 game has drifted away. Like I wonder if the road thing has anything to do with this. Just being in a different building every single night. Like maybe I'd be curious to know what the 5-on-5 scoring was in the first 5 games of the season when they were actually at home compared to like the last however long 15 games or so. So I really don't think it's anything too crazy to worry about right now. Now, if we're having this conversation a month from now, then maybe we gotta look into things a little bit more deeply. But eventually, like Puljujarvi's going to find the back of the net. He's been playing way better recently. Like he had a great pass to Nugent Hopkins in Chicago the other night. He had who was it? Who'd they play? Florida, where he kind of got robbed on a doorstep, drew the penalty. He's going to find his game a little bit more with the net. Bouchard now has 3 goals and however many. If you want to count the 2 he put in his own net, he's got 5. And then also, obviously, Yamamoto not being back he'll get back in the rhythm of things. I think they'll find a groove eventually, but hopefully, again, this little homestand can help push this team in the right direction.
And having last change as well should help the 5v5 production for these guys as well. Might be some spots to get McDavid and Draisaitl some easier matchups. I want to show this one here from Rusty, who says, I'm writing off the Minnesota game. Reset, dominate this Habs team. I agree with Liam. 3-1 should be the expectation. As always, Rusty, our resident eternal optimist. He also says Hyman is going to start potting them as well. He should be at 15 goals, right? Not 9. Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like Hyman's had some tough puck luck, even though his numbers have been really, really good. But he could be better than that, which is crazy to think as well. Liam, you mentioned this Montreal team here and sort of how the season's been going for them. How about on the road? You dug up some numbers, and 6-4-1 is their road record. They're averaging 2.9 goals on the road this season. Edmonton, though, has been scoring a lot at home, even if they haven't been winning, but 3.58 against at home. What do you make of this Habs team on the road here? Like, this is, again, a very winnable game, but am I maybe writing off the Habs a little bit too much?
I think I said it off the top. I think this team deserves credit from around the league. Like they're above 500, and I think most of us thought they'd be in the sweepstakes for Bedard to start the year. And the wheels can still fall off. Obviously, there's plenty of time, but it's a team with no expectation, which is almost as worrying as a team with expectation, like the Oilers. Like we all thought they were Stanley Cup contenders to start the year, and it's kind of gone the opposite direction. But Saturday night in Edmonton, or Saturday evening, 5 o'clock, whatever it is, like I feel like the Oilers show up a little bit more on a Saturday when they're on hockey night. So I'm not too worried about tonight's game. I think it'll be a fun one. I'm looking at the over, as I always do for an Oilers game, because it's just simply the way it goes for us nowadays. Yeah. So yeah, I think Montreal's got a lot of good players, and like I said, like there's no expectation, so there's no pressure for this team to really go out and do anything, which is kind of scary.
Electronic Jordan says, can't watch today, but I dropped in just to like the video, which is a reminder to all you guys. Go hit that like button if you are indeed watching on the Nation Network YouTube channel. Oilers taking on the Montreal Canadiens tonight. 5 o'clock puck drop. That was the lead, brought to you by Soho. Check them out, sohoyeg.com. As always, a Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day here on Oilers Nation every day. I see someone sitting and he's doing this remotely. And you all know how Jay's internet can be sometimes when he does this remotely. But we're going to bring him on here for a quick hit to get his thoughts on tonight's game. Jay, Oilers, Habs, 5 o'clock. I pray your internet can hold up enough for you to tell us what you're. First off, where are you?
Home, Alberta.
Beautiful Lacombe, Alberta. What are you expecting tonight from the Oilers as they take on the Montreal Canadiens?
Well, we can't, so I'm hoping they're coming to stop off and they put out a big effort because we've got the Canadiens playing loose, absolute weapon. So I got out of a cannon and just take it to the Habs, especially the Habs fans.
All right. Yes, there will be a lot of Habs fans in the building. We can barely hear Jay. The video, again, fine. I just see him roll his eyes on the side there. Jay needs to talk to his cell phone service provider, and maybe we can get that sorted out. We might try ask Jay another question here, but I think the point he was making, there's going to be a lot of Habs fans in Rogers Place, and it would be it'd be very nice to see the Oilers kind of, shut them up a little bit, right? It's probably going to be like, 25, 30% Habs fans. So, yeah, it'd be great if the Oilers can play well on national TV. It always feels like the Oilers play poorly in these games. Like, Saturday nights have just really never felt like their friend. I don't know what it is, but I mean, to be fair, they did beat Vegas a couple of weeks ago, though. So maybe I shouldn't be too hard on them. Their record so far this year on Saturdays, they lost to Calgary, lost to St. Louis, then beat Calgary. So that'd make them 1-2. Loss, win. Okay, yeah, they've actually been pretty good on Saturdays. I'm definitely being just too hard on the Oilers here. Let me know your Sherwood Ford Giant keys to victory. I'm going to bring on Jay one more time. We are going to give him one more shot to see if the internet connection can work. Jay, give us your Sherwood Ford Giant key to victory.
Have full reception. Reception.
We hear like every second word you're saying. Give us your key to victory. We'll get the most of it.
Just thing I'm saying, just outplay the out hot, show up on time. It's a fun Saturday night for all of us that are going to be in the building.
All right, Jay. It's actually really weird. I don't know what it is because, people in the chat are saying this as well, but we see him fine, but we hear every second word. Liam, it's driving me crazy, but I know I can rely on your internet connection because you're sitting at home. Jay from Lacombe, I'm sorry that we couldn't make that work a little bit more, but enjoy the game tonight. That's too bad. That is too bad. I think he's very frustrated as well. Anyways, Liam, give me your Sherwood Ford Giant key to victory tonight as we get set for Oilers and Habs.
I say it every time we do this, but I just want the Oilers to control the game against supposedly a weaker opponent. Like, I know Montreal only has one less win than we do, but this team should be more talented than Montreal. So I understand the lines are a little jumbled today because of obviously the injuries. We're missing players, but I would like them just to not put themselves in bad situations. I think that's a good way to put it. Like, don't blow 3 goals like you did in Chicago and let them get back into it. Or just don't be shitty on the penalty kill when they're trying to get back. And you have the Pajot thing where Tyson Berry's not bearing down. Just want to win the game. It sounds weird to say because obviously they do, but sometimes they make plays and it's like, what do they think is going to happen here? It's obvious that that's going to be the outcome. So just play hard and give your fans something to cheer about, I guess, is my key to the game.
Yeah, I think getting a lot of rubber on net is going to be an important one. Jake Allen was absolutely incredible, and this is maybe how we transition into our starting goalies for tonight's hockey game. For the Habs, it's going to be Jake Allen. You can see there, he stopped 45 of 46 against the Calgary Flames earlier this week. That is absolutely incredible. But on the year, he's got a 7-8-0 record. He's got a 3.4 GAA and an 898 save percentage. When you look at the goalies the Oilers have had to go up against recently, statistically, he would be one of the worst. Marc-Andre Fleury is starting to piece things together. Okay, Arvid Soderblom or whatever in Chicago is the exception, but they beat Spencer Knight, they beat Igor Shesterkin, and then they had to play Vitek Vanacek and Ilya Sorokin before that. Aiden Hill, the game before that, he has great numbers on the year. They've had to play some really good goalies, and I don't think this is a situation where a Jake Allen start concerns me or anything like that. Stuart Skinner is going to get the start for the Oilers. He is 6-5-0. He has a 2.91 goals against average, a 914 save percentage, but that save percentage has been sub 900 in 3 straight. It's a little bit of a get right spot here for Stuart Skinner. Kind of show us that he's still got a handle on this starter's job.
Yeah, definitely. And the difference between him and Campbell is very obvious. Like, I'm not going to go into that too deeply, but the fact that he's been 3 straight games now under 900 isn't alarming. I guess slightly concerning. But I still believe massively in Stuart Skinner and this team as a whole, and just needs to play better in front of both goalies. And I think that just plays a big part of it in all of it. So if you go back and look through kind of the goals that maybe Skinner's allowed, like, I'm sure most of them aren't even his fault, to be honest. So Skinner, it would be nice for him to have a big game tonight. He had a big game against Vegas last time they played on Saturday night. So I'm kind of like, I believe in our boy Skinner.
Ash. Oh, Jesus, those are tough 2 words to get out consecutively. Yash asked what we're thinking of Skinner tonight. He says it's a good choice because Montreal can score goals. They found the back of the net 67 times in 23 games already this season, and you don't want to hurt Soup's confidence more. I agree with you. You need to really be picking your spots with Jack Campbell going forward. That Arizona start is the one I absolutely have circled as his next chance between the pipes. And if you're looking at Skinner's numbers as a whole on the season, like 291 goals against average, 914 save percentage, that is solid. Like, no complaints at all from Oilers fans about that. And I think it's important to kind of remember, like I said, 3 straight games of a sub 900 save percentage. It's not like Stuart Skinner has been on a year-long heater to get to these numbers, right? He started off just red hot, so good, and his plays dipped a little bit. And I think that this sort of, 13, 12, sure, I should call it 12 game stretch from Stuart Skinner is probably exactly what we can expect from him throughout the entire season. There's going to be 5-6 game stretches where this guy looks unbelievable. There's going to be 4 or 5 game stretches where maybe this guy's play dips a little bit, and that's fine. I think that kind of is what you should expect when you have a young goalie that you're thrusting into a starter's job.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know what, like, Skinner is always kind of, I guess, beat our expectations, I guess you could say. Like, after what we saw a couple of years ago, the first time he came up, and he comes up and kind of just keeps proving everybody wrong, I suppose. So yeah, I think Skinner's got a really good career ahead of him, and I think he's honestly the future goalie, even if Jack Campbell's here for the next however long.
Yeah. Streeter Schaefer is in and says, just too many times this year, it seems like the boys are playing with no emotion. It seems to be a rarity that they actually get pissed off at another team when they're scored on and play with some grit. Yeah, I think that's a fair key to the game for tonight is, come out and kind of do with some desperation. I know we've talked about this a few times already in the year, but like really give her, right? Like, get into the corners, play physical, want to set the tone physically, force turnovers with your forechecking, all of that kind of cliche stuff. But it's cliche because it can legitimately impact the outcome of a hockey game. And it's just something that I don't think the Oilers are getting enough of from their bottom 6. Hopefully they get that here tonight. That is a good spot to tie into our projected lineup tonight, courtesy of Daily Faceoff. Top line: McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nuge with Janmark and Puljujarvi, Kostin with Shore and Ryan, and then Holloway with Brad Malone and Tyler Benson is going to draw in the bottom 6. So that's how the Oilers are going to line up tonight, courtesy of Daily Faceoff and our friend Tony Brar from Oilers TV. Liam, what do you kind of make of these lineup combinations? Sticking with McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman together on home ice? Listen, again, I don't love it. I think eventually you're going to have to move away from this thing. But last change against a Montreal team that's not that deep, maybe it makes sense tonight.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? Like, I think if this team gets out to a bit of a lead and proves themselves to go out and do that without McDavid and Draisaitl on the top line, and sure, you can go do it. But I also think that second line played pretty well against Chicago too the other day. And did they have the game against Florida as well? Or I can't remember exactly what the lines were for
it
that
started
game.
with the Rangers game, so they were together for the game against Florida.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that second line, you kind of need it to start working maybe more consistently. Like, if they have a bad game, like say halfway through the second period and that line isn't clicking, then I think it's probably time to split up McDavid and Draisaitl. But at this moment, if that's the line, like, who cares? Like, if they're just scoring every time they go out there, then, or however, like, creating chances, creating havoc, then maybe that's just what you got to do for the time being until like Yamamoto or Fogle get back in the lineup. Like, one of those guys, I think, would maybe help spread things out a little bit more. But for now, I really don't mind that line being together. It just, the team's got to score some goals, and if that's the way they're going to do it, that's the way they're going to do it, I think.
Bison Mask Guy is in the chat, says keys to victory. Montreal's averaging 12 PIMs per game right now. However, they are a top 10 penalty kill. They did have the 6th best PK percentage in the month of November. One line dimension game tonight. Bottom 9 needs to be better than Montreal's. And that ties in nicely to what the Habs have going on with their lineup for this evening. This is a Montreal team that, it's bang on. They're playing like a one-line team right now. And I know you can kind of chuckle and be like, hey, well, so are the Oilers. And yeah, absolutely. I will also take the trio of Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman over Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and Kirby Dach, who, they're having a good year. But if that's your top line and then you follow it up with the depth that you do, it's kind of like, ew. Third line's playing good hockey right now for the Habs, though. But the second line is Dvorak with Armia and Dodonov, Sean Monahan with the first overall pick, Uri Slavkovsky, and Josh Anderson on the third line there. Jake Evans with Michael Pezzetta, and it looks like they're going 11-7 with Chris Weidman there listed on the fourth line. Michael Matheson with David Savard, Joel Edmondson with Caden Gooley, Jordan Harris with Arbor Xhekaj, Wi-Fi as they call him. He's made quite the name for himself so far in his early NHL career, though he has been getting healthy scratched. He has been healthy scratched a few times. If I'm the Oilers, man, this blue line for the Habs doesn't concern me at all. There really isn't. Like, Matheson and Savard can maybe give some resistance to McDavid, Draisaitl, but I think this is a night where I think the Oilers' big guns could feast. Like, bottom 9, forget about it. I think the big guns are just gonna let it go.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the play, to be honest. Like, like that blue line is nothing to be scared of. Like, especially compared to what the Oilers have gone up against so far this season. Like, we've spoke about it a few times, like how tough their schedule has actually been, and you look at all the teams they face. Like, it's kind of Montreal. Yes, they've been good, but it's a soft spot in the schedule. There's no denying that. So, outside of the top guys too, like, maybe this is a spot where other guys in the lineup can start clicking a little bit and maybe gaining a little bit more confidence within themselves to then take on to whoever they play next and then weeks to come and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Bang on with that. Oilers Habs 5:00 tonight. Let's chat a little sports betting. Liam, I saw someone was in the chat earlier saying, hey, let's get a little Oilers puck line and the over parlay. Don't mind that. If you're looking for a little same game parlay action, I think McDavid and Draisaitl are both going to have big nights tonight. Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, on home ice against a team that is not that good defensively, against a goalie who's been inconsistent so far this year. I think tonight is a hammer McDavid and Draisaitl kind of night. You can get McDavid and Draisaitl to each score 1 goal at Betway at plus 220. That's pretty juicy. I also don't mind McDavid, Draisaitl, each over 1.5 and Oilers puck line. If you want to get a little greedy, it's like plus 215. That's not a terrible spot either. What do you like tonight, Liam?
I'm just going to hop on the Hyman train again, to be honest. If he's playing with those two guys, then eventually he's got to bag it all, right? His goal is plus 135 to score, but also his shot prop is minus 118. Like you said, like one of these nights where the team could probably feast on a few things. So I think Hyman, maybe he gets up to like 6 shots again. He's been doing that quite regular recently. So I got a feeling he's probably pretty pissed off too after all the goals that keep getting disallowed on his part. Yeah. And then the over, like I said earlier on, I think it's always a play for the Oilers. Like, until they stop, they're not going to ever stop scoring goals. But right now it looks like they're never going to stop allowing goals either. So I like the over. What was it, minus 120, I think?
Yeah, I don't mind the over either in this hockey game. It's not a bad spot. Hyman shot prop, very intriguing. Bouchard shot prop, very intriguing. I see Betway has the Oilers to go over 34.5 shots on goal. It's minus 118. I'm just taking a peek here. The Habs have only allowed that twice in their last 6 games, but they did give up 46 shots to the Calgary Flames earlier this week. Oilers over 35 shots on goal might be a play. It might be in play tonight. I don't mind that. Oilers to win, McDavid to go over 1.5 points is plus 100. Don't hate that. Like, good Lord, stop me if you've heard me say this before, but I think tonight is a good spot to be betting on the Edmonton Oilers. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, who would
They're
have
probably
thought?
going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, come on, they got to, right? Like, I was looking at the puck line, and I debated for so long, and I was like, do we even trust this team on the puck line right now? We all thought we had it locked up against Chicago, and then all of a sudden the game ends 5-4, and it's just like, man. But hey, if you're feeling lucky, it is Saturday night. You could chase the juice a little bit on the puck line. But Hyman for me, Hyman's my guy, and there you go. Hyman 8 goals, 13 assists in 21 games against Montreal. Thank you very much. I'll cash out already. Take it to the bank.
Our boy Yash with a very specific game day prediction says 3-2 Oilers win. Goal from Barry early. Habs get 2 quick. Draisaitl gets a power play goal in the second. Bouchard gets one with 3 minutes left to seal up the victory, and hopefully it is a good night in downtown Edmonton after that. Guys, Montreal's a 12-10 record. They've beaten some good teams. It's not exactly going to be a fluff game from Epiphany. Yeah, like Montreal has played really good so far this year. I'm just saying I think they're playing a little bit above their heads at this point. Like they beat the Flames. That was on the back of Jake Allen and then also Jacob Markstrom just not playing that well. But before that, they lost 4-0 to the Sharks. They had to go to a shootout to beat the Chicago Blackhawks before that as well. They needed an empty netter to beat the Blue Jackets 3-1. They lost 7-2 to the Sabres. They needed a shootout to beat the Philadelphia Flyers. They lost to the Blue Jackets. They lost to the Devils. Like, you can go back early in the year. I agree. They beat some good teams and they got off to a very good start. But I think you can also look recently at this Habs team and kind of go like, okay, when they're winning games as of late, kind of just beating bad teams, Calgary game aside, even though Calgary is just a mess right now. I don't know. I think this Habs team is starting to come back down to earth a little bit, and that makes it a very good spot for the Oilers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. And eventually, the Oilers, we talk about how well Montreal has been doing. At the end of the day, the Oilers haven't been doing well, and eventually one of them is going to fall off. And I think it's more likely Montreal goes the wrong way and the Oilers go the right way. And, like we said, this Oilers team has just won 3 of the last 4 games. I just beat Florida on Monday. They beat the New York Rangers there. Chicago obviously is what it is. Like, the Oilers are beating good teams too right now. And even look back earlier in the season, they've beaten Tampa Bay and Florida again on the road. Like, Oilers, very good team. I think it's fair to say the Oilers should be favorites in this one over Montreal. Yeah.
Someone asked Yash again, how long do you think we run with McDavid and Draisaitl? I'll be honest, I think it's going the rest of the homestand. You have last change. You've committed to this already for a handful of games. You run this thing for Montreal, Washington, Arizona, and Minnesota, and maybe you look to revisit it when you head out on the road for that Minnesota-Nashville back-to-back. But I also think a part of it is you're likely running this until you start to get a little bit healthier, right? Like when Yamo's healthy, maybe you feel like, okay, this is a spot where we want to give him another look now that he's 100%, throw him up in the top 6, and we're going to do that playing with Leon Draisaitl. The two of them seem to really like playing together. I think that's something they could do. But the rest of this homestand, I have a funny feeling we're going to see 29 and 97 together for it. Speaking of the injury news, the Oilers sent out a pretty interesting video today. Evander Kane, before the Oilers took to the ice for practice, he was on the ice in full gear, wasn't shooting, but was skating and stick handling. I would call it semi-aggressive stick handling. Like he was go watch the video over on their Twitter. They tweeted it 2 hours ago, but that is fascinating that this guy is already on the ice handling a puck, because it was almost exactly a month ago where that wrist was sliced open. And I know there was a lot of us being like, oh, you're just going to LTIR him until the playoffs. Maybe there's a chance Evander Kane recovers quicker than we think. And I know the Oilers said 3 to 4 months or whatever. Maybe this is only a dead on 3 months kind of injury in terms of the time frame.
Yeah, and I mean, look, as great as it would be for the Oilers to, I guess, LTIR him and then bring in like 2 really good players or whatever it is, that would be great. I completely agree. but also if we can just get Evander Kane back in less time, I think that's also just as great. Like, you know what? Like, if he can recover, like, and I think they mentioned, I can't remember, he was on like the hockey night last time when they were in Vegas, and they were talking about how. Did you spill something? Something, Phil?
No, my mic's about to fall off.
Okay, don't worry, I'll carry the show. So anyway, people,
As you usually do.
When Evander Kane was doing that after hours, they spoke about how like he couldn't feel his fingers and that kind of stuff right now, or his thumb, whatever it was. And I guess they did an update, and it's pretty regular for that to happen. So that was what, 2 weeks ago, and now he's already on the ice, like kind of stick handling, whatever. And you know, I'm not trying to jump the gun here and say Evander Kane's going to be back in the next couple of weeks, but like you said, Tyler, if he's back in like that 3-month thing, that's way more beneficial. And also around the same time, the Oilers actually acquired him last season. So things turned around quite quickly at that point. So Evander Kane, like, yeah, awesome. Like I said, it'd be great to get like a Chikrin or whoever, but I like Evander Kane just back in the lineup. Priority for me.
Well, yeah, and like that's kind of where I was going to go with this is everyone's like, oh, LTIR him. Okay, you're probably not finding a player as impactful as Evander Kane on the trade market. And I get that, like, oh, yeah, but come playoffs, you'd be so good with Evander Kane jumping back in just like the Lightning did. And it's like, one, you're not the Tampa Bay Lightning. You're not that deep. Mm-hmm. You need Evander Kane on this team to get home ice advantage, to make the playoffs potentially. The fact he's skating already is tremendous. And while some people might be like, darn, that means we can't LTIR him, there's no denying it would be a good thing to have him back potentially before that 3-month timeline, if it's at all possible. The fact he is skating today in full gear and handling a puck is a very, very good sign considering this injury happened a month ago.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you know what, like, I believe in Ken Holland and his ability to bring guys into this team. We've spoke about it for a few shows now. He's been able to do it for the last 3 seasons at the deadline, like kind of fill gaps that the Oilers need. I think he's going to do it again. He's not a stupid GM. Like, he knows what this team needs. It's very, and if he doesn't, then I take back everything. But he knows what they need. He knows how he can do it. We have a lot of assets in this organization right now, and I think a big credit to that is Ken Holland. Like, look at Bakersfield. There's so many players down there that are tradable because they're all good. And, you know, obviously we're probably going to have to lose one of those $3 million forwards, but I think Ken Holland is going to be able to pull the trigger on a couple of things. And maybe it's not a Taves or a Kane or whoever, Chikrin, whatever, but maybe it is someone like a Max Domi or, you know, someone with a lesser cap hit that can bring more depth to this team and help him out in a good way, like he did last season. Like, Brassard wasn't even making league minimum technically with the Edmonton Oilers last year. And I know he wasn't an impactful player, but it's just kind of the sneaky things Holland's able to do. Like, we traded William Lagesson for Brett Kulak. Like, come on. That's a great trade when you look back at it.
There was picks involved too.
Sure, but like you still traded, you know what? Like, you never know what those picks are going to be in the player. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I believe in Uncle Ken.
You've always been a big Ken Holland supporter. Vince says he just pumped some money into the Betway. He's feeling a Hyman and McDavid goal each, the Oilers and the over. Best of luck to you, Vince. As always with Betway, 18+. Please play responsibly. Tyler says maybe he's figuring out how to stick handle without the feelings in his finger. Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's just starting to get used to things. Like, maybe he's just like, you know what? Feelings never coming back. I'm just going to learn to play through this thing. Oilers Habs tonight. 5 o'clock. I think the vibes are good right now. I think people are feeling an Oilers victory. The chat is fired up. Liam, give me your score prediction tonight. What do you got?
I'm going to go, because I've mentioned the over. I'll go 5-2 Oilers.
All right. I don't hate that at all. I'm going to agree with you.
5-2 Oilers and Puljujarvi goal. There you
5-2 Oilers with a Puljujarvi goal. I will say 5-2 Oilers, 3-point nights for each McDavid and Draisaitl. So, you know what we should do? Because we did this last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago, and we were close on it for the Vegas one. We almost hit like our crazy bet builder parlay.
Yeah, we did.
What do you think it pays out for the Oilers to win exactly 5-2, McDavid and Draisaitl 3 points, and a Puljujarvi goal?
Oh, man, that's got to be like plus 1,400.
Okay, correct score. We're doing this live.
Yeah.
Correct score is going to be an Oilers 5-2 victory. Okay. That right there already has us at plus 1,400. Oilers points. We can't go. We got to do McDavid and Draisaitl at just 1.5. That's fine. We're
That's
good at
fine.
that. Goal scorer, we're going Jesse Puljujärvi. Anytime goal scorer, Liam, 95-1.
95-1. Well, you got to chase the juice.
You got to chase the juice sometimes, am I right?
Yeah. I just saw in the chat here on the side, Jack Nugent, I think his name was, asked, where's a good spot to eat before the game? Any suggestions, Tyler?
Liam, there's this place on Jasper Ave called Soho. Their pizzas are... Wait 1 sec. I got to pull you off the screen to show people how large the pizzas are. Like this big. I'm not even exaggerating. They are like legitimately this big. The pizzas at Soho are... They have game day specials for every Oilers game as well. The game is on a 100-inch screen. Go to Soho. Go to Soho. Go to Soho. Chemo's in. He says Klim scores again. Klim Shady. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's my boy. I want to see him up in the top 6, though. Dr. Gonzo, Puljujärvi's next goal will go in off his big booty. Why not? Why not?
I don't care how it goes in. It could smack off his face for all I care. Just go
It'd be a Habs own goal. And yeah.
Mr. Nugent again. How far is the walk? 5 minutes tops. Very close to the rink. Very close to the rink.
Someone asked, what's the over-under for Jake Allen's saves in this game? And again, Betway had the Oilers at 34.5 shots. So somewhere around there. Pardon?
29.5. Yeah.
Oh, but what if they light him up? This is one of those nights where I don't know if I want to touch that, because what if they light him up? You know?
Yeah, it's true. I like just the total shots is kind of something I like to look at, because again, if you do get screwed a little bit by a goalie getting pulled, at least you have that to fall back on. Maybe you double down.
Or you could view it as like almost a hedge as well, right? Where you're taking the over 29.5 on Allen saves, and you're also taking the Oilers puck line. There's a chance they both hit, but if the puck line doesn't hit, it's probably because Jake Allen stands on his head. If the save one doesn't hit, well, it's probably because the Oilers lit him up and he got yanked. So maybe it's a decent hedge.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that at all. I guess for curiosity's sake, Stuart Skinner's is 26.5. So Oilers, if you think you can make 27 saves tonight, yeah, why not? Hit everything. We didn't tell you.
Jack Nugent wants to know. He wants to know, where in England are you from, Liam?
Jack's got a lot of questions today. I am from Bolton in England, Jack.
Bolton?
Bolton. The mighty Bolton Wanderers. That's where he plays there. So check him out.
All right. Good stuff, Liam. You enjoy the game tonight. The pride of Bolton, as always, with his expert Oilers analysis. That's going to be a wrap on today's Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. As always, coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio, sportscloset.ca. Check them out for the sports fan in your life. Jack says he's from Durham, by the way, Liam. So there you go. I'll bring you back on now. I was doing a wrap, but I saw that comment. Is that close? Are you guys close?
We're both in the north, but it's not that close. He's like northeast. I'm northwest. But Durham, good cricket team, I think, last time I checked.
Thanks. That's going to be a wrap on today's show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hammer that like button on YouTube before you head out. Thanks for watching the show, and we will be back on Monday to hopefully talk about